Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm talking kind of low because I'm in Vegas. It's about 5:30 in the morning, and I don't know how people can hear me through these walls. Now, today is Halloween, so I told my son that if I get back too late and he's asleep, that I'm going to find his candy and I'm going to eat some of the better stuff that he's got. He is not going to let that happen. He will hide that candy. My 7-year-old is not, he's very streetwise. He was born that way. He will hide that candy. And so what I would like to do, so that I don't have to try to track it down and find it, I would like to try to get back home early enough so that I can actually negotiate with the kid. And believe me, he does know how to negotiate. My voice sounds weird because every time I come to Vegas, you get really dried out, your throat and everything. But I wanted to first apologize to anyone who, during my first live stream, anytime you do something for the first time, you're not, it's not necessarily going to be your best, but I think I did an okay job. But I wanted to apologize to anybody who did any of the super chats or anything like that that I didn't acknowledge. I had people that were handing me pieces of paper, and they were doing a really good job and doing it as fast as they could, but some of them I just didn't get to in time. Okay, another thing I wanted to do on this video, I wanted to kind of summarize for you what I've seen. I decided a while back that I needed to come to some of these conferences. I needed to come because I wanted to see everything that I have talked about on my channel is very obvious to me from reading things, seeing articles and all of that. It never hurts you to get out there. And I always knew that the day would come where I would need to get out there and go talk to people and see what's really going on. For those of you that don't know, and you're looking at Mr. B's kind of summary of it, when we got to this, if you keep in mind, this conference is probably one of the largest the largest in the country. And you have to understand it's a 2-year bear market, so you're not going to necessarily have a ton of people at any conference right now. But what we learned very quickly is that you have the XRP community and then you have the rest of crypto. There was not any, and I mean not any representation of the XRP community or of any company that uses XRP on any kind of scale. They didn't know who we were, but we kind of wanted it that way. We walked amongst the crowd. We did lean in and introduce ourselves to some people. And we've got a lot of interesting pictures that you'll see. I'll even tell you some of the people now that we ran into. But first, this that Mr. B says is 1,000% correct. It's almost like you have a lot of people that are holdovers, maybe. It's a lot of that same thing where the people that started this, that started maybe early in Bitcoin and those type of people, the anarchists. And he said the hatred for XRP by the majority of attendees and companies here at WCC is overwhelming and laughable. The XRP community is by far the smartest in the community in the entire space. No contest. Can't wait to do our own XRP meetups soon. Now, I think the next tweet was mine. I tweeted this out last night. I spoke to the organizers of this event, and I literally before, and this is an interesting story, before I did my live stream, we didn't have a room that we could go in and not be bothered to do that live stream. And so we walked over to the guy, one of the event organizers. And again, they didn't know who we were. All they know is a lot of these Bitcoin influencers and different things like that. And I leaned over, I had to literally show the guy my YouTube channel and show him, and it was really a shock to the guy. I think because I don't think he's used to seeing. What we learned is that there's a lot of people who go to these conferences almost for a living, and they just say I'm an influencer, and then it's assumed that they're an influencer and they have some huge following when a lot of them don't. And so the XRP community is so big, and these people have no idea. It's really surreal what we witnessed. But anyway, this guy, and his name is Dominic. Um, Hrabe is how you say his last name. I would really butcher that. But anyway, nicest guy in the world. The guy takes us back, gets us a room. We set up, and then I came back after we did the live stream and told him I appreciated it. And I talked to him and I said, listen, um, Ripple is not necessarily a consumer-facing company, but Spring, which is more or less an incubator for XRP use cases and future use cases. There are many of those companies and use cases that will be more of a consumer-facing retail thing. And even if we just started to get people like that to come to these conferences, and in conjunction with that, get the XRP community to have a reason to get together and do meetups. I said, we could pack your house out. And I had that discussion with Mr. B. And so I tweeted this just to show you all out there. And I told you in the live stream that I'm about to start getting out there. And I think that really I said it better than I could have said it. Anybody could have said it right here. Let him hear you roar. And that was to the XRP community. I believe that in conjunction with what Spring is doing, and just for the pure reason for all of us to start going places and getting together and meeting each other in person. A lot of times when you go through things, it's one thing to be going through a tough time, a bear market and all that online. But I believe there will be a time, hopefully sooner rather than later, where we have something to celebrate. And along those lines, I want to say this. One of the big reasons I wanted to start doing this as well was because I wanted to walk through these places and talk to some of these people. And a great example is Bitcoin Ben. He's one of those guys that goes to all of these events. And my observation, and this is not from Bitcoin Ben, but my observation of what's going on is that it's all every bit as big and probably a lot bigger than what I thought behind my computer and what is really going on. Everything that's going on is as big or much, much bigger probably than what you think in this industry and what's coming. And for XRP, I couldn't be more, I've never been more confident in XRP than I am right now. And just as an aside, and I won't name any names, but a Bitcoin person, pulled us aside and literally said, look, I know people on Wall Street who say, you do own XRP, don't you? As if, and more or less, you better go buy XRP. That was literally said to us when someone realized who we were. And so if you take nothing away from my going to my first crypto conference, don't forget that. Here's what else happened that was interesting. I came here, I got to know Mr. B, got to know Brad Combs, got to know Cryptopolis, all stand-up great guys, okay? Wanted to really get to know them. And, you never know who you can trust in life, and I felt like those guys would be a good place to start, and they're good people. And so we're going to continue to kind of branch out from that and reach out and get to know more people. Some of the people I met, just so you know, and I took pictures with them, pictures that are on my devices. I met Bitcoin Ben. I met Charles Hoskinson, who's the creator of Cardano. I met Anthony Pompliano. I've got a picture with Anthony Pompliano. I did not meet, but I stood right beside Crypto Bitlord. I don't know much about the guy, but I do know that You don't ever know where he's going or what he's going to tweet out, and so I didn't feel comfortable going up and introducing myself. I will tell you this: I stood right beside the guy, and he had no idea that the digital asset investor was beside him. Mr. B was standing there, Cryptopolis was standing there. I think, and yeah, here, Mr. B actually took a picture of the guy. Here he is. We were standing literally right beside him, and he was talking. And uh, I just didn't know if he was the kind of guy that would realize who I was and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna just bring out his phone, take a quick picture," and so I didn't want to go there. I would have loved to have just talked to the guy. I just wanted to ask him, where are you coming from, man? And I think this is another thing I learned at this conference. A lot of the people that you hear on YouTube, a lot of the people that you watch on YouTube, how you over your life you've probably heard a lot about a lot of people, movie stars and actors and different things like that, and you hear from your friends or people that have been somewhere and met one of them, and they come away and they say, "What a jerk! That person's nothing like what they present on camera." Well, this is the same way. I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you firsthand, there are people in this space that you watch, and when you come away, you will find out these people think so much of themselves. All of the what they think fame is gone to their head, and they are not what you see on camera at all. Now, as Mr. B had tweeted, and I don't know if I didn't pull it, but Mr. B tweeted out his respect for Bitcoin Ben, who's the guy who calls himself the most loved truck driver in the world. Anyway, we talked to Bitcoin Ben at length. I even told him I wanted to get his phone number. The guy is everything that you see, regardless of what he talks about, whether you like Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever. The guy is the most genuine guy we met there, and he deserves all the credit in the world. And he's probably one of the has one of the bigger followings of all at this conference in this type of stuff. But anyway, really good guy. Nothing but good things to say about the guy, and the guy believes what he says, and he's not some fake person at all. Let's see, I wrote down some notes. While I was gone, you need to know that my 7-year-old won his baseball championship, and I did miss that game, but I never do this kind of thing, and so I hated to miss that game, but it just kind of happened that way. Okay. Let me see. I mentioned that I'm sorry if I forgot to mention anybody in the super chats. I do, if you remember from my first live stream ever, and you guys tell me if this is a good idea. On the fly, XRP Rocks he drew that stick figure and put DAI on it. And so we've got that picture, and I thought that it might be funny to either do a giveaway sign my name on to do a giveaway of that, because everybody was laughing about how we needed to hold on to that or frame it or something, but it was pretty funny. But anyway, I don't remember if I blew this up for you guys. Let's see this. This is Crypto Bitlord. That's what he looks like. And I'm not going to tell you what, but having to do with this guy right here, something happened at the conference. Something happened at this conference that was purely by coincidence, that one day I'm going to reveal to this community, and it's not anything bad about him. He didn't do anything bad or anything, but I'm going to reveal, maybe sooner rather than later, this guy right here has no idea, but something happened by accident, and one day I'm going to show you what it is, because we have it. And it is going to be one of the most epic things in the history of this community when I show you and you realize what happened. Okay, now I did want to just cover a couple of things before I left you, because we're kind of behind on the news here. This was from Chinu Patel. Chinu Patel 29 sent me this. It's official. Hong Kong has plunged into recession for the first time since the financial crisis. And then we've got this. Crypto departed. I think both of these were from Chinu Patel. United States Congressman Tom Emmer announced that he is introducing a new bill that can provide regulatory certainty for cryptocurrencies. That's good stuff. Now, there were some Ripple things that I had not seen, and I was blown away. India's federal bank will launch Ripple's cross. This is from XRP Crypto. India's federal bank will launch Ripple's cross-border payments technology by the end of this year to explore new corridors. India's federal bank officials said the institution manages about 15% of all of India's cross-border remittances. 15% of all India's cross-border remittances. You think that's big? And there are a lot of people from that part of the world that are going to be at Swell. King Solomon, and I saw where King Solomon was upset with me that I didn't acknowledge his super chat. And the truth is, it was purely because it was my first stream and because it was I was doing it on the fly as fast as I could. They were handing me notes, and these guys really helped me out, and they handed me a lot of them. And I'm sorry that I missed King Solomon. This guy's a valuable member of the community, and I didn't mean to hurt the guy's feelings or slight him in any way. I appreciate that super chat. It was just my first time, man. But keep doing your thing, and I'm going to keep showing your stuff because you are one of the most valuable members of the community that there is. Okay, this is from him. Industrial and Commercial Bank of China submits 41 blockchain patents. Now, what I'll say to this is, do you remember the other day when CZ Binance says, when China moves, they move very fast? In other words, everything's already been put in motion, and they push the button, and here we go. And so now you're beginning to see that right here. Okay, and then this is a monster that I've been busy, so I hadn't seen this till now. XRP Crypto. SBI plans to use XRP for cross-border remittances from Japan to Southeast Asia. SBI Remit will use XRP-powered ODL and MoneyGram to send money to over 200 countries and 350,000 locations. SBI Ripple Asia will cover 50% of the Ripple network once the connection is activated. And this right here is from, I think they came out with their quarterly report. And if you look down here, for remittance from Japan to banks in Southeast Asia, in which the SBI Group invests developing a system using XCurrent, in the future XRapid, in collaboration with SBI Remit, SBI Ripple Asia, and several banks in Southeast Asia. Well, there you go, folks. And then we have Brad Garlinghouse. He is at the DC FinTech Week. I know he really wanted to be here in Vegas with the digital asset investor and just couldn't do it. He had to go out there for more highbrow things. But soon enough, Brad, we will talk. And you know, I'll tell you something funny. The thing I mentioned a minute ago, the classic hilarious thing that happened that with BitLord, I was telling Mr. B and those guys that if I get a chance to talk to Brad Garlinghouse, I have got to tell him what happened. So Brad, I know you don't know what I look like now, or maybe you do, but if you don't, once somebody tells you who I am, when we get to Swell, I've got something really hilarious to show you. So it'll be with me. But he's over there at DC FinTech. I don't know if that's going on today or it's already happened. I'm really a little behind on the times here. And then there was this spring announced. Today we welcome keylesstech. I'm going to go ahead and give them a follow so I can be in on that. keylesstech, the spring network. Read how the team is reinventing privacy by providing authentication as a service. Well, that's not what I want to show you. Well, as long as we're looking at it, a negative mind will never give you a positive life. This is Mr. B's pinned tweet, and so true. I mean, I could tell you so many stories about that. And finally, from Coining, Mr. B had tweeted this out from Coining at Coining203S. Almost time for Swell, and he did a Coil blog on some of his thoughts on Swell and what he thinks this is leading up to and what could go on, that type of thing. You need to go and check this out. He's a really smart guy. I've talked to him behind the scenes, or at least direct messaged with him. I am the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button. And by the way, when I met Mr. B and met Cryptopolis for the first time, they were standing in the hallway in this casino, and I walked up to them. First thing out of my mouth is that I told them, I said, I just want you guys to know that this is for entertainment purposes only. That's a pretty good punchline. But tell your friends and family that the digital asset investor is headed back home, and I'm giving a shout out to my 7-year-old. I'm coming for that candy, son. Thank you for listening.